How is it going, everybody? I'm here from my channel. And today we are reviewing Despicable Me 3. This movie is quite special to me because it was one of the first movies that I saw in 3D back in 2017. The visuals were amazing and the story was really funny. But now in 2021, with everything that has happened in the world, how does it hold up? Let's find out. The plot is actually very simple. Gru meets his long-lost twin brother who is a villain, and together they set off on a journey to defeat their nemesis from the previous films. Steve Carell reprises his role as the iconic character Gru, and he does such an excellent job at portraying him. He voices Gru with so much energy. It feels like no time has passed since we last heard from him. Miranda Hart is also back as the voice of the wonderfully eccentric Dr. Nefario. And Jennifer Saunders joins the cast as Gru's twin sister, Drew, who looks after their evil father's supervillain business while he's gone. I honestly didn't know what to expect when they said she was his sister, but she turned out to be a very fun addition to the series. Steve Cook also returns as the voice of the lovable but dim-witted Bob, and Kristen Wiig is back as Lucy Wilde, who's now married to Gru and works as an agent for the Anti-Villain League. And of course, we can't forget about the hilarious minions who are voiced by Pierre Coffin. The animation is superb. This is a Minions spin-off. Yes, there are other spin-offs like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Shrek, but this one just feels like it's a natural extension of the main storyline. So let's talk about the story. It's pretty similar to the second film where Gru gets framed for something he didn't do. But I think it works because we have a fresh, new concept with the introduction of his twin sister, and the overall tone of the movie is just very enjoyable. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel, but they did add some nice new elements that made the story feel more interesting than the previous films. Plus, there's a lot of cool action scenes and set pieces. My favorite one has to be the one where Gru and Drew infiltrate their father's fortress. The visuals are stunning. The lighting, the colors, the camera angles, it all just comes together to create this really immersive experience. You really feel like you're right there in the scene with them. Also, there's some pretty funny Minion-related stuff, so keep an eye out for that. Now let's talk about the characters. Gru is still the same old Gru. He's still trying to balance being a supervillain with being a good father to his 3 daughters. But I think he's a bit more confident in himself now. We get to see him open up to Drew and actually embrace his emotions, which is really nice to see. And speaking of Drew, she's a lot of fun. She's a bit more flamboyant than Gru, but she's also very smart and resourceful. I love how she is able to hold her own in a fight and doesn't need anyone to save her. I also really like their father, Vic. He's a really interesting character with a mysterious past. I won't say anything more about him because there are some cool twists and turns in the story that I don't want to spoil. But let us just say he is not the typical evil villain trope that we often see in movies like this. He's actually quite sympathetic and you can understand where he's coming from. Even though he's done some bad things in the past, he seems like he's trying to make amends for them and move on with his life. The humor is pretty clever and it's not just slapstick either. There are some really funny one-liners and situational comedy as well. But I think the best jokes are the ones that make fun of the characters themselves. For example, there's a scene where Gru and Drew are trying to work together to take down their father. But they keep getting distracted by their own personal problems and they start fighting each other instead. It is a really funny scene because you can tell that they both want to do the right thing, but their pride and stubbornness is getting in the way. Another great scene is when Gru and Lucy are trying to interrogate one of their father's henchmen. But the henchman keeps lying to them and making up stories about how he was framed by someone else. So they end up just giving him a medal for being the most evil person they've ever met and letting him go. It's a brilliant bit of comedic timing and it really pays off. Now let's talk about the music. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's definitely catchy and it fits the tone of the movie perfectly. One of the songs, I'm Not a Villain, I Am a Supervillain, really stood out to me because it encapsulates the spirit of the movie so well. It's a fun, high-energy song that celebrates being different and embracing your uniqueness. It is a great anthem for anyone who has ever felt like an outcast or like they didn't fit in. The lyrics are clever and the melody is really catchy. It's definitely one of those songs that will stick in your head for days. And finally, let's talk about the 3D effects. This movie came out before the whole 3D craze died down, so the visuals are really impressive. There are some really cool effects that make you feel like you're right there in the action. For example, in one scene, Gru and Drew are fighting their way through their father's fortress. And there's this one shot where the camera has to do this really quick pan around the room to avoid being hit by some laser beams. It is really well done, and it makes you feel like you're right there in the scene with them. Another cool effect is used during the final battle between Gru and his father. The camera has to do this slow zoom out as they fight, which really emphasizes the scale of the battle. It is a really epic moment, and it wouldn't have been possible if this wasn't in 3D. Overall, I think Despicable Me 3 is a great addition to the franchise. It has a fun story, great characters, hilarious writing, amazing animation, and stellar 3D effects. It's a movie that the whole family can enjoy. So I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Now let's move on to the viewer's engage word. This is the part of the video where I ask you guys to leave your thoughts on the movie in the comments below. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Why? How does it compare to the other movies in the franchise? Also, if you're a fan of the movie, make sure to let me know which character is your favorite. Personally, I think Gru and Drew have a great dynamic. They're both very different, but they're also very similar in a lot of ways. It is really fun to see how they interact with each other and how they grow as characters throughout the movie. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!